UFC 319 has recently just concluded last night, and we had some amazing performances. We got two spinning elbows, whatever you want to call it. Two amazing spinning elbow knockouts from Lerone Murphy as well as Carlos Prates. Absolutely sensational. We had submissions and we had dominant performances. Overall, a really solid card. But that's not what today's video is about. Today, we are going to be looking at what is the best matchup for all the main card fighters. Who are they going to fight next? Who should they fight next? We're going to play UFC Matchmaker today. Let's get straight into it with the first fight of the card, Kaio Sakura versus Tim Elliot. Tim Elliot managed to get the submission win over Kaio Sakura, and what a dominant performance. What a fantastic performance it was by Tim Elliot. Kaio Sakura was terrified of the takedowns, especially in round number 2, and got himself submitted. Fantastic performance by Tim Elliot. I had Kaio Sakura personally winning that fight. This fight was a gift to Kaio Sakura. This was, hey, you lost your title fight. Sorry about that. You know, we gave you a really tough guy. We're going to give you this easy win, and then you can make another run towards the top. They gave him a guy who's 38 years old, and they gave him a guy who hadn't been in the octagon for 18 months. No one thought Tim Elliot was going to win that fight, but he did in fantastic fashion. A beautiful guillotine choke got him the win. So, who should they face next? Well, with Kaio Sakura, I am in the boat is that he should be cut from the UFC. You know, you were given this win. You were literally gifted this win, and you didn't take that opportunity. He needs to go away, work on his takedown defense, work on his defensive wrestling, work on getting back to his feet, and work on submission defense. It was a terrible performance all around from Kaio Sakura. Landed one good head kick, which more landed on the neck of Tim Elliot more than anything. So I'm in the boat as that he should be cut from the UFC. However, if he is not cut from the UFC, I have a few opponents for him. To start with, Kaio Sakura should face Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is 0-2 in his last 2 UFC fights, losing to Manel Kape as well as Joshua Van. Ranked slightly higher than Kaio Sakura in the rankings. So either Kaio Sakura should face him, or I believe a Kaio Sakura versus Uday Osbourne, a dominant striker, a good striker, another striker. We don't want to match him up with another wrestler and have the same thing happen. So either Uday Osbourne, I'd like to see him fight, or Bruno Silva, if he does stick around in the UFC. I'm in the boat that he shouldn't. I think he needs to go away, fight in a different organization. You know, he came from one championship, which was it? I can't remember. Was it Ryzen? I can't remember. But he came from an organization where there's very little grappling, to a world of mixed martial arts. So he needs to go away. Maybe someone like PFL or so. I'm not too sure, but he needs to go away and work on. So if he doesn't get cut, those are the 2 fighters I believe he should face. Now with Tim Elliot is in a very awkward position with his age. He is obviously never going to make a massive run for the title. So for that reason, I think we need to give Tim Elliot fun fights. An opponent I mentioned for Kaio Sakura would be really fun for Tim Elliot, that being Uday Osbourne. He lost his last fight to Steve Erceg. I think that would be a really fun fight. If not, if he does want to move higher up in the rankings, if he wants to go up through the rankings, I have put down Alex Perez, who is currently ranked 8 in the division, 1-2 in his last 3 fights in the UFC, higher up than Tim Elliot in the rankings. Tim Elliot coming off a fantastic win. I think Tim Elliot versus Alex Perez makes a lot of sense. I'm not too sure. They may have fought before. If they have, then I apologize. If not, that is a fight to make. Even if they have fought before, they're in different positions in their careers now. I think that would be a good fight for Tim Elliot. First fight on the main card, done and dusted. We move on to the second fight of the main card, Michael Venom Page versus Jared Cananeer. A fantastic performance in round number 1 and 2 from Michael Venom Page, scoring knockdowns on Jared Cananeer in both of those rounds. I wish he followed up. He could have got the finish if he followed up. I understand why he didn't. Obviously very concerned with the threat of the wrestling from Jared Cananeer. Come round number 3, Michael Venom Page made a mistake which caused him to get taken down. He ended up on his back for the majority of the round. Lost the round. He nearly got submitted, nearly got finished by Jared Cananeer, but Jared Cananeer didn't have that oomph to get it done. So Michael Venom Page took the decision win, 29-28 over Jared Cananeer. Now, with Jared Cananeer, I think Roman Kopylov is a good fight for him. They've not fought before. He's lower in the rankings. Kopylov also coming off a loss to Paulo Costa. I think that's a really fun fight. I think it's a fight Kopylov can win, and it'll be good for his career. Jared Cananeer, at that old age, like 41 now, he's never going to make a serious run for the top. He needs to be that kind of gatekeeper for the top 10. And I think Kopylov is a perfect next fight for him. Kopylov down at rank number 15. Obviously, Jared Cananeer is probably going to drop in the rankings now after this loss. Therefore, I think Roman Kopylov would be a fantastic fight for Jared Cananeer. Now with Michael Venom Page, it's obviously not very clear on what division he wants to stick to, if he wants to move back down to welterweight or if he wants to stay at middleweight. If he was to go down to welterweight, I have been matched up with potentially one person, which has been linked already. Obviously, Carlos Prates won against Jeff Neal. There is rumours, well, it's been confirmed that Carlos Prates will fight at UFC Rio October 11th. And it is rumoured that he is going to fight Michael Venom Page at that event. However, my problem with that is that if he faces Michael Venom Page, it does absolutely nothing for him in the rankings. At welterweight, Michael Venom Page is ranked down at 15th. His last two fights were at middleweight. It's a very fun fight. It's a stylistic, fun fight. However, for Carlos Prates, it makes no sense for his career and his trajectory towards moving up the rankings and, you know, eventually getting that title shot. It's a fun fight, a fight I'd like to see, but when we actually need to look at it from a career perspective and him moving up through the rankings, I would much rather see Carlos Prates take on someone else, which we'll get to. I personally want to see Michael Venom Page stay at middleweight. I think that is the better division for him. I know he's massive for welterweight, but he's also massive at middleweight. I think he looks better at middleweight, personally. It's where I want to see him stay. I have two potential opponents for Michael Venom Page. One of them being Robert Whittaker, obviously just coming off a loss to Reina Derrida. I think that's a really fun fight on the feet. Robert Whittaker can also mix in the takedowns if need be. That would do really good things for Michael Venom Page and his ranking in the middleweight division. If not Robert Whittaker, I think Paulo Costa would be a really, really, really fun fight. MVP versus Paulo Costa is a banger in my opinion. Obviously, Costa coming off a win to Roman Kopylov, who was ranked 15th. So in his mind, he might want to fight up the rankings instead of someone who is unranked. He might be ranked after he probably is going to be ranked after his win over Jared Cananeer. I think Paulo Costa versus Michael Venom Page is a really, really fun fight and a fight that I really want to see. So either if it's not Robert Whittaker, I would want it to be Paulo Costa. I don't want to see him move back down to the welterweight division. Next up, we have one of the best fights of the evening, Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. Carlos Prates landed the spinning elbow knockout with 1 second to go in round number 1. The noise it made on the skull of Jeff Neal was absolutely brutal. If I can, I'm going to play a clip if I can find one. You'll know if I did find one or not. I'm not allowed to show broadcast footage here on YouTube, so if I have to find some fan footage if I can. If not, then you didn't see anything. I just stood here like a melt. Anyway, for Jeff Neal, I'd like to see him fight down the rankings. Again, Jeff Neal in that position in his career, gatekeeper for the top 10, same as Jared Cananeer. I'd like to see him fight Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez is 3-0 in his last 3 fights, currently sat at rank number 12. I think it's a really fun fight. I think it's a tough matchup for D-Rod if he wants to move up through these welterweight rankings. The problem is that Jeff Neal is probably going to be out for anywhere between 12 and 18 months after that brutal knockout. In my opinion, I haven't heard any more, but judging by the sound and the cut on his head, I think he might have cracked his skull, if I'm honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me if that comes out. So if he does fight, I know Daniel Rodriguez isn't going to want to wait this long, so the matchup is kind of hard with Jeff Neal because he could be out for up to 18 months. But if D-Rod wants to wait, if Jeff Neal can get a quicker turnaround, I'd like to see Jeff Neal fight Daniel Rodriguez. It's a good fight for Daniel Rodriguez. It's a real good challenge for him, and for Jeff Neal, it's a win. It's not really a win-win. If he wins, then it looks good. He's fought off a contender, and if he loses, it's like, yeah, you lost to, it's just another loss at your age. It's not a big deal. So I think Jeff Neal versus Daniel Rodriguez is a really, really good fight to make. Next up, we have Carlos Prates. Obviously, they've got that absolutely beautiful KO last night. Obviously, we discussed briefly that he could be fighting Michael Venom Page October the 11th at UFC Rio. However, I don't want to see him stay. I don't want to see him fight Michael Venom Page. It does absolutely nothing for him. So we look at the rankings, see who has and hasn't got a fight. I personally think a fantastic matchup for Carlos Prates is Joaquin Buckley. Both of them lost to Ian Gary fairly recently. Joaquin Buckley coming off a loss to... Joaquin Buckley never faced Ian Gary, did he? Am I losing the plot? Hang on. Right, now I got cancelled. I'm losing the plot. Carlos Prates lost to Ian Gary. Joaquin Buckley coming off a loss to Kamaru Usman. Sorry about that. Hey, I was up all night. I'm still tired. Leave me alone. I think that's a really fun fight. Carlos Prates versus Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley ranked at number 8. Carlos Prates ranked, I think, about 11 or 10 after that win. Maybe a little bit higher. Stylistically, I think it's a very, very good fight. A really interesting fight. Two very good strikers, two hard hitters as well in the 170 division. Personally, I think that's a really fun fight. It's a fight I'd really want to see Carlos Prates take on at UFC Rio. Will it happen? I don't know. It's a very quick turnaround for anyone involved. So it's going to be hard matching them up with someone on such short notice, with October 11th coming around quite quickly. Only got 2 months. Michael Venom Page makes sense. He's already said yes. But I don't want to see that fight. I want to see Carlos Prates versus Joaquin Buckley. If they call him up today and say, look, you're fighting him October 11th, as long as he's not injured, there's plenty of time to get training camp in. I want to see Carlos Prates versus Joaquin Buckley October the 11th in UFC Brazil. Next up, we have another spinning elbow knockout from Lerone Murphy. Personally, I had Lerone Murphy winning this fight via decision. He didn't. He got a brutal knockout in the first round over Aaron Pico. Now, Aaron Pico in that odd position just came over from Bellator, lost his debut. If he won that fight, we could be talking about Aaron Pico getting a title shot, you know? But he isn't going to be getting that now. Not at all. The chances are Aaron Pico will get a guy like Yair Rodriguez. Personally, I really disagree with that. I know Yair is in that really odd position, as in he's got no one to fight right now. Personally, I want to see Aaron Pico face Josh Emmett. I want to see him drop really a lot lower down the rankings. Yair Rodriguez is ranked at 3 or 4 at the moment. I don't believe he should be, how can you lose to rank 6 and then go on to fight rank 3 or 4? Doesn't make sense to me. I want to see him fight Josh Emmett. I think that's a really good fight. Josh Emmett, hard hitter. Aaron Pico, hard hitter. Both decent grapplers. Obviously, Aaron Pico probably has the wrestling advantage in that fight. I want to see Aaron Pico versus Josh Emmett, personally. Who wins that fight? I don't know. I really don't know. We saw what happened to him against Lerone Murphy. Josh Emmett hits harder than Lerone Murphy. Just saying. But I think that's a very fun fight. I don't want to see him fight Yair Rodriguez. Yair in that really awkward position of he has no one to fight. Because in my opinion, you're going to see Yair Rodriguez probably fight Aaron Pico. What I think should happen, Yair Rodriguez should hold out and fight the winner of Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling on the 23rd of August. He should fight the winner of that fight personally. And Aaron Pico drops down the rankings, fights Josh Emmett. For number 1 contender in that division, I'm thinking Movsar Evelev versus Diego Rodriguez. Wow. Against Diego Lopez. Because I think, obviously, Movsar wants a title shot. He's been inactive. He pulled out the fight against Aaron Pico. So it's looking very much that Lerone Murphy is going to get the title shot against Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski tweeted Lerone Murphy saying, see you in December, meaning that is pretty much going to happen. We're going to see Lerone Murphy fight for the featherweight belt against Alexander Volkanovski. Therefore, it leaves Diego Lopez and Movsar Evelev in really awkward positions. Obviously, you can't give Diego Lopez a title shot. I would like to see Diego Lopez fight Movsar Evelev for a number 1 contender while the Lerone Murphy Alexander Volkanovski fight goes ahead. Well, and then whoever wins out of Volkanovski Lerone Murphy fights the winner of Movsar Evelev and Diego Lopez. Poor research on my behalf. I'm full of it. Diego Lopez is fighting Jean Silva already. So that really puts a spanner in the works for everything I just said. Let me know who you think Yair Rodriguez should fight. Maybe he should fight Movsar Evelev. instead. Maybe that's the fight to happen. Yeah, sorry about that. Poor research on my behalf. Next up, we have the main event. Khamzat Chimaev dominated Dricus du Plessis in a completely one-sided affair, 50-44. In my opinion, I had it scored 50-43. Completely dominant by Khamzat Chimaev. Not as many submission threats as I thought. He didn't. I was expecting to see multiple submissions attempts. Obviously, there was a fair few, just not as much as I was thinking. Dricus du Plessis, I don't believe we should be giving an immediate rematch to. If it was a closer fight, then absolutely I would be sat here saying, let's do the immediate rematch straight away. With Dricus du Plessis, personally, I think he should face either Reina de Ridder. I think that's a really good fight. A tough fight for Dricus du Plessis, but a really good fight. And if it's not Reina de Ridder, he should fight Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez versus Dricus du Plessis is a very good matchup. If Dricus wins, it keeps him in that title line. If Anthony Hernandez wins, it jumps him up the rankings. I personally think that isn't going to happen. They're the two fights I want to see happen. What I personally think is going to happen is Dricus du Plessis will face the loser of Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho at UFC Paris. I think he will get the loser of that fight. I think RDR should get the Adesanya matchup. It's stylistically a nightmare for Adesanya. However, I think that's a good fight. Reina de Ridder versus Israel Adesanya. You know, Adesanya needs a guy that doesn't hit very hard at the moment. I think Reina de Ridder doesn't hit that hard. Obviously, he's got great knees to the body, great wrestling, which we don't really want for Adesanya. But if Reina de Ridder isn't going to face Dricus du Plessis, I believe there's a lot going on at middleweight. I want to see Dricus du Plessis versus Reina de Ridder, but you could also do Anthony Hernandez versus Reina de Ridder. But de Ridder isn't want to fight below the rankings. He's going to want to fight up. So Reina de Ridder versus either Adesanya or Dricus du Plessis. And the chances are Dricus du Plessis will get the loser of Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. But that's not what I think should happen. Maybe I think the loser, Reina de Ridder should face Dricus du Plessis, and the loser of Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho should face Adesanya. That would be interesting. There's a lot going on. Middleweight's a really interesting division at the moment. It's quite simple who Khamzat Chimaev would face. He's obviously going to be facing the winner of Nassourdine Imavov, who's ranked number 1, against Caio Borralho. Whoever wins that fight is going to get the title shot on Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think either of them beat Khamzat Chimaev. I really don't. That's just the way I see it. So the middleweight division is crazy at the moment. There's a lot of fights you could make. I hope to see Dricus du Plessis versus RDR. Or I would prefer the Anthony Hernandez matchup for him. I think that's a better fight. Stylistically a better fight for du Plessis as well. I would like to see RDR versus Adesanya. I'd be really interested to see how that fight pans out. And yeah, Imavov versus Caio Borralho, September 6th. Winner of that fight is getting a title shot. I will be there in the crowd. So if you haven't already, make sure you drop a sub to see the UFC Paris vlog. It's going to hit hard. It's going to be a banger. I've ordered some equipment, ready to produce one of the best vlogs for UFC Paris. Guys, if you haven't already, please like, comment what you think of these matchups, comment who you think should fight who next. Drop a like on the video, it'd be greatly appreciated. It helps me out massively. We're on our way to 450 subs. We are just 10 away. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in a wee bit. Thanks.